How much are you paying for your food? Food prices are up by 40% in 1 year on average. All around the world, consumers are struggling with high prices. Why this big shift? What is going on? Who controls our food supply, and does it matter? That is our BBC World debate. Food, who is paying the price? Welcome from me, Nick Gowing, to Rome. The Italian capital is headquarters for the big three United Nations food agencies: the Food and Agricultural Organization, the World Food Programme, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, which this year marks its 30th anniversary by bringing together these world experts to consider the big new pressures on agriculture and food production. In parallel, we're here to debate how fast and dramatically farming is changing and at what cost and benefit to both producers and consumers. Low food stocks and higher prices have begun creating major security problems in the developing world. There have been food riots in parts of Africa, Asia and the Middle East. Economists forecast this trend is set to continue. At the same time, food production is increasingly in the hands of large-scale industrial companies. So, is there a connection? Is industrial agriculture the best way to meet global demand? What will be the impact of this upheaval in food supply on the consumers, on food security in every country, and the future of tens of millions of independent farmers? Well, many conference participants have joined us here in this Rome studio. And to debate the issue, I'm joined by Dr. Raj Patel, who is a political economist and author of Stuffed and Starved: Markets, Power and the Hidden Battle for the World Food System. Nkosi Okonjo-Iweala, formerly Finance and Foreign Minister of Nigeria, now Managing Director of the World Bank, which has just published a controversial view of agriculture's future. Jan Kees Vys, who is Sustainable Agriculture Director for Unilever, the world's third largest food and consumer goods company. Sarat Fernando, who farms 1/8 of 1 acre in Sri Lanka. You represent 1.8 million small farmers there in the movement for national land and agricultural reform. Sean Rickard, business economist at Cranfield University School of Management, advisor to the British government on agricultural policy, a self-confessed fan of industrial farming. And Gary Howe, senior strategic planner at the UN agency IFAD, International Fund for Agricultural Development, holding this conference. Your work confirms, quote, a major transformation is underway. Well, let's just take a rain check from all of you. How sweeping are these changes underway? Raj Patel.
There's a sort of standard story about why food prices are going through the roof that involves agrofuels, price of oil, the bad harvests. But there's actually a very profound and far longer term issue here.
What is it?
Well, if you look at the average food basket, over the past 20 years, consumers have been paying, in real terms, about 2% more for that basket, but farmers have received about 40% less. So over the past 20 years, you've seen a wedge between farmers and consumers. And what it points to is that farmers are losing power in the world food system, and they end up subsidizing very large agricultural corporations.
And you have called it a battle for control now of the world food system. Why do you say that?
Well, because farmers aren't taking it lightly. The farmers' organizations like Sarat are involved in widespread organization in order to be able to reclaim some of that power. And so it is a battle in every meaningful sense.
Gary Howe, what do you think? What is happening? You talk about unequal power now in the system.
I think we're looking at three world historical trends coming together. The first is, for the first time in human history, half the human population lives in cities. That is to say, the proportion between those people who consume food and those people who produce food is for the first time in favor of those consumed. Secondly, that meat is becoming a major part of the diet. The untold story of agriculture is the biggest eater of food are animals, not human beings. Thirdly, for the first time in a long, long time, agriculture is being seen as the source of energy. Those three coming together are creating a revolution in the significance of agriculture and the composition of agriculture worldwide.
And Nkosi Okonjo-Iweala, when you sit in Washington, you and your colleagues at the World Bank, how fundamental and how deep is the stress becoming on food?
We think that it is becoming quite deep and quite fundamental. As you said, world food prices have been going up. In fact, over the past 3 years, global food prices have gone up by 26% in real terms. It means that farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and food importing countries are facing, rising prices. This is tough, and I want to agree with the fact that there are some fundamental trends going on. As more people come out of poverty in certain of the middle-income countries like India and China, they're eating more meals a day. The demand is going up. There is a demand also for agricultural products for fuel, which is also becoming an issue. The rising fuel prices also contribute because there are high fertilizer prices. So there are some longer-term trends here that we have to look at.